right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. I can't believe we are where we are right now. For those who are just joining us for the first time today, we are almost 2 years into our journey following Charles Darwin's Voyage of the Beagle around the world. So the historic tall ship Oosterschelde left Plymouth back in August 2023. And since then, we have been sailing around the world. We've had researchers on board from the Explorers Club doing incredible research on land and in the ocean. We've brought Darwin leaders, young Darwin leaders from around the world to the ship to learn new conservation skills. And we've hosted well over 100 world's most exciting classroom events between the ones we do for North America and Europe, as well as Australia and New Zealand. So I think the best thing to do is show you the map quickly on the website so you can see where the Oosterschelde and the Darwin200 crew are right now. So you're going to see this map here. If you ever want to check out this map, I highly suggest you visit Darwin200.com. We have this beautiful map here in real time. You can track the ship, and you can also trace back in time and see where we've been. There's a cool little camera icon. If you click on it, it highlights all of the photos and videos that we have uploaded as we've been sailing around the world. So there is our track. You can switch the view here. This is my favorite view when you click this one. Oops, that one's not working today. Usually gives you a nice round globe, but today it looks a little bit choppy. So maybe there's some issues with it. So I'm going to switch back to this view. There we go. So here we are right now. We are probably a day away. Probably in the next 24 hours, we will arrive in the Azores. This will be our last stop on the Darwin200. We've got our last group of young Darwin leaders coming on board to work with some conservation groups in the field and gain some new skills. They've got a camera operator who will be out with them, and they'll create some short videos for us. You can check out all of the past ones on the Darwin200 YouTube channel. And if we back out a little bit more, you can see after we leave the Azores, we make our way on this final stretch of ocean to Falmouth, which is where Charles Darwin ended his 5-year voyage of the Beagle. We'll arrive there around July 20th. Around July 18th. We've got some celebrations planned. We're going to do a little trip around to London and have another big celebration in London to end off the Darwin200 voyage. So we still have a few more world's most exciting classroom events to squeeze in before we reach the middle of July. All right, let's get to today's event. I'm going to take the map down. I know why a lot of classrooms are here today. A lot of them are already saying hi in the chat. Let's shout out a few of them. The grade 5 water rockers in Guelph, grade 4s in Gatineau, 3-4s in Chatham, Ontario. We've got Mr. Moore's crew in Toronto. The list just keeps going on and on. Nova Scotia, Nicaragua. Where else? Ottawa. New Jersey, Melbourne, Australia, Netherlands, Paris, France, Northampton, England, Washington, D.C. So thank you so much to all the classrooms who are joining us today. Don't be shy to say hi in the chat. We've also got a bunch of camera classrooms hanging out with us as well. We're going to meet them very, very shortly. All right. Well, our guest for today needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it a try anyways. We couldn't be more thrilled to have had Jane Goodall as an ambassador of the Darwin200 mission. She's an ethologist, an environmentalist, and the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute and a United Nations Messenger of Peace. Through more than 60 years of groundbreaking work, she has not only shown us the urgent need to protect chimpanzees from extinction, she's also redefined species conservation to include the needs of the local communities. Today, there are 25 Jane Goodall Institutes working to support core programs, including Roots and Shoots, which is JGI's environmental and humanitarian program empowering young people of all ages to become involved in hands-on projects for their community animals and the environment in more than 65 countries. So I'm going to reach backstage. We're going to bring Jane in live with us right now. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hello, I'm just fine, apart from a croaky voice, which I can't help. But and by the way, Joe, we're now in 75 countries.
Wow.
75 with Roots and Shoots. And it's growing all the time, really, really fast. It's
It's absolutely incredible, Jane, the work that you do, not only for conservation, but with young people as well. And, you know, you've been such an inspiration to the young Darwin leaders who come on board the ship at every port that we make a stop in.
Well, you know, I am so jealous of everybody who's been on the ship. I stood on it before it left, but goodness, I would have given anything to be young again and to share part of that voyage. Darwin was my hero, and I just think everybody who's had anything to do with that voyage is really, really lucky. And I take my hat off to Stu McPherson for thinking this amazing journey up in the first place. And I don't think anybody thought he could pull it off, but he did. And it's just the most magical, magical voyage that I can imagine.
Yes, Jane, it has been absolutely amazing. And yes, you're right. An absolute huge shout out to Stu. I think just through sheer force of will, he made this happen. And yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, and to see the ship set sail from Plymouth. And I've been lucky enough to catch up to the ship in different places, and we've done really cool broadcasts from the field for classrooms. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I was in South Africa, and we did a live shark dive for classrooms, a live cage dive with bronze whalers. It was one of the coolest things we've ever done with classrooms.
That's fantastic.
And Jane, I know you've been busy. You just returned from Taiwan and Japan, so it's not a surprise that with all the speaking you've been doing, that your voice is a little bit croaky today.
Yeah, well, I got some kind of bug. I don't know what the bug was. I managed to get through every event and then collapse in between. Anyway, I'm now amazingly back home for about 10 days, which is quite rare for me. So I will recover.
Excellent. Well, Jane, we're going to let the students go crazy with questions very shortly. But before we do that, you know, I just thought maybe we could take a minute and you can just talk a little bit, you know, say hi to the classrooms and maybe just touch on the state of conservation right now and why students, you know, can get involved right now and don't have to wait.
Yeah, well, it's important for everybody to get involved, students or non-students, because I think everybody knows the world's in a to do their bit. We need everybody to remember every single day you live on this planet, you make some impact and you get to choose. Choose wisely. We need to pull together. You know, I see humanity at the mouth of a very long, very dark tunnel. And right at the end of that tunnel is a little star shining. That's hope. But it's no good sitting at the mouth of the tunnel and waiting for that star to come. We've got to crawl under, climb over, work our way around all the obstacles between us and the star. The climate change, the loss of biodiversity, the industrial agriculture, and on and on and on, discrimination and poverty and unsustainable lifestyle. So it needs all of us to get together and do our bit. And if we all get together and do our bit, we'll reach that star. And why is that so important? Because if we lose hope, we give up, we do nothing, and we're doomed. So let's all do everything we can to grab onto that star.
All right. You're right, Jane. That is so important. Hope is so important. And that's one thing I think that we've seen throughout this 2 years of the Darwin200 voyage is that students out there are very hopeful. They're very excited to do their part. They've been doing experiments with us. They've been doing Curiosities of the Week. They've been telling us stories about things that they do in their classrooms and their communities. So I think that's one thing Stu and I have noticed on this journey is there's so much hope when we see the Explorers Club researchers come on board, when we see Darwin leaders from all over the planet come on board and learn with us. And then when we see the students each and every week come out, hang out with us, ask questions, and learn about the world. So yeah, we get to see that hope. And I know through Roots and Shoots, you get to see that hope as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I was just in Japan. It's just flying across Japan. It started late, but my goodness, it's catching up. And it's because we have such incredible people, you know, volunteers, a few staff, and then the students themselves, all having ideas, all working away to make this a better world. It's very exciting.
All right. Well, I think it's time that we meet some of our students hanging out with us today. There's still loads and loads saying hi in the chat, which is great. We're going to visit some of our camera classrooms. We are going to take some questions from YouTube, so don't be shy and send us some questions in the chat sidebar. But I think I want to see some other faces. So I'm going to start off in North Bay, Ontario. We've got some grade 3-4s hanging out with us. Let me get them in here. Good morning, North Bay. How we doing? Oh, I think we need to grab the mic for me.
There we go.
Hi, my name's Jaden, and I'm wondering, throughout your career, how many chimpanzees have you been working with?
How many oh my goodness. Well, I couldn't possibly answer you that way. Remember, I've been doing it now for 65 years. And out in the wild, there are 3 groups of 50 each, but many of those have died and new ones have been born. And then I work with zoos all around the world. And we have sanctuaries for orphan chimps whose mothers have been shot. So I couldn't begin to tell you how many chimpanzees. Thousands.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Jane, that beautiful face behind you in that picture. Can you tell us a little bit about who's in that picture?
Now this is David Greybeard. This
There's
one,
David
yes, there. David Greybeard was the first chimpanzee to lose his fear of me way back in 1960. And he's the one who showed me chimps can use tools to fish for termites. And he was, out of all the chimps, my very, very favorite. Handsome, calm, a born leader, not the top ranking, but one that the others trusted. So they often followed him. He was extremely special.
All right. Well, North Bay, thank you for that great starter question. We're going to come back your way soon. Let's see. Let's go to our 7th and 8th graders, Miss Wool's class. I'm going to bring them in here. Hey, 7th and 8th grade, how we doing?
Good. Good.
All right. Do we have a question to get us started?
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
Hi guys, I'm Ivy.
Hi, Ivy.
If chimpanzees could speak to humans, what would they say?
They'd say, please go away, stop cutting down our forests, stop capturing us, leave us be in the forest, and make sure that you protect that forest forever.
All right. 7/8, we're going to come back your way, but I have no doubt that if a lot of animals could speak, plants, animals, that they would have that same thing to say to us. No question. Absolutely.
I'm sure they would. And by the way, you know, you say plants speak. They do speak. They do talk to each other. A lot of people don't believe that, but it's true, as you know.
Absolutely. There's some great books about that. I'll suggest some to classrooms afterwards, because as we look more at our planet, every single day we're discovering and learning amazing new things that we never would have thought about 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
All right. Miss Steinhoff's crew hanging out with us in Guelph, Ontario. How are you doing, Miss Steinhoff's crew?
Hi. My name is Christopher.
Hi, Christopher.
What's your opinion of zoos?
My opinion on what?
Zoos.
Zoo. Well, there's zoos and zoos. Some zoos, they've got really nice big environments for the animals. They have a good social group, the right food, the right space, the right enrichment, and they're doing a lot for conservation. So the animals in the really good zoos are like ambassadors. You go and look at them and you think, oh, this is what they're like in the wild. They've got the same kind of environment. And then you want to protect them in the wild.
All right.
Thanks.
Great question.
Yeah.
We're going to go to another classroom. Then I'm going to dip over to YouTube because I see loads of questions coming in via YouTube. Mrs. Parrish is grade 6, 7. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hey, everybody.
All right, Skylar, go ahead and ask your question.
I was wondering, when you were traveling, which place was the most impacted?
Did
Bye.
you get the show?
Yeah,
Which place was the most impacted?
So Jane, on your travels around the world, what area maybe of the world have you seen that's been most impacted by humans?
Oh my goodness. It's very hard to say because so many countries have been horribly impacted. And the ocean, the ocean with the pollution and the warming waters and the melting ice and the areas of acidification. The ocean is horribly impacted. The rivers are terribly impacted. We have a lot of work to do. And you young people, you're inheriting a mess. And fortunately, there's a lot of us older people who are very conscious of the fact that we're harming your future. And we're all geared up, ready to help, to give you advice and to help you. Well, you're going to have to move mountains, and you can.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that gives me the most hope and makes me excited is how resilient nature can be. There's so many examples, especially in the ocean. If we give it space and we leave it alone, it can do a lot of the work itself.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, 6 7s. We'll come back your way shortly. But I want to zip over to YouTube because we already have a pile of questions starting to come in right now. Let's see. What should we start with? Okay, this is kind of a fun one. Jane, this student would like to know, what about your job? What about your career do you love the most?
Well, what do I love the most? I think I love the most getting to meet amazing people when I go around the world and seeing extraordinary projects, just like you were saying, Joe, places that we've utterly destroyed, give nature a chance. Nature will come back. Animals on the brink of extinction can be given another chance. And I love collecting up these stories and then sharing the stories when I do my lectures.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Okay, we have some students in Hamilton, and they're on their way to high school. They'll be going to high school after the summer, and they want to know if they want to research in the field, if they want to work in conservation, what subjects would you recommend that they take?
Well, it partly depends on what their school will give them, but I absolutely would recommend them to join Roots and Shoots, because then they'll have access to young people all around the world doing exactly what they want to do. But the subjects, some people want to go more into the zoological side of it. Mm-hmm. Other people want to be out doing conservation, and different countries, different universities, different schools offer slightly different ways of getting there. And I don't know all the ways. All I know is if that's what you want to do, hang on to that vision and don't give up. That's what Mother said to me.
Yeah, there is nothing better than if you can turn your passion into your career. Nothing better. And one thing that we've learned over the 2 years of the Darwin200 is, even if you don't study science, maybe science and math aren't your best subject, you can still be involved in conservation. We need engineers. We need people who can make and fix things. We need people on board the ship who can cook and navigate. We need artists who can draw what we're seeing and bring things to the public in exciting new ways, like that beautiful picture of David Greybeard back there.
And also, Joe, I mean, you you can help conservation whatever you do. You can be a teacher, you can be a parent, you can be, you can be somebody who empties dustbins. It doesn't matter. You can still do your bit for conservation by thinking, what do you buy? What do you eat? What do you wear? Did it harm the environment? Was it cruel to animals like factory farms? Can you eat less meat? Because eating lots of meat is totally ruining the planet, maybe more than almost anything else.
Okay, so Dorothy would like to know how old you were when you first went into the field with the chimpanzees.
Oh, I was 23 when I went to Africa and went to Olduvai Gorge with Louis Leakey and met a lion on foot and met a rhino and elephants all on foot. But when I began working with the chimps, I was 26, but a very young 26 in those days, not like a 26-year-old today. I mean, we were very, very naive. We didn't travel. I mean, students didn't get to travel like students do today.
Yeah, a different world and very different connectivity.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was no television when I was growing up. No television. So when I went in the field, today you have all kinds of stuff. I had a notebook and a pencil and a pair of secondhand binoculars. That was it.
All right. Well, you made the best of those tools, Jane, no question. Mr. Moore's class would like to continue that early research questioning, and they're wondering, when was it when you saw your first chimpanzee? How did it feel?
Very frustrating, because it took one look and vanished into the forest. It took 4 whole months to get the chimps' trust. And it was very frustrating because I only had money for 6 months. I hadn't been to college. It was just this one American philanthropist who took a chance and said, all right, Leakey, my mentor, Dr. Leakey, here's money for 6 months. We'll see how she does. Nobody had been out in the field trying to study chimps. Nobody. Except one man. That was back in the 1800s. And he wanted to watch chimps, but he had a very, very strange way. He built a little cage by a fruiting tree. And for some reason, he felt he would be less scary if he was naked. So he sat in the cage, naked, covered in baboon dung. I mean, he never saw a chimp.
All right. Well, I mean, science is all about hypothesis, and maybe that one wasn't as good. But that's why we try things. We learn when we try things.
Well, I think that was a very foolish thing to try.
Absolutely. Okay, one more question from YouTube, and then we'll get our camera classrooms again. This is a group in Nova Scotia, and they're wondering, if you could give students a simple piece of advice for something they could do every day to help the planet, what would it be?
Oh, golly. Well, there's so many little tiny things like turning off taps, turning off lights, being a vegetarian, or even better, a vegan, not eating meat, for example, being kind to people, watering a little dying plant. There's hundreds of little things you can do to make the world better.
Yeah, we always say to students that, to forget about that saying that I'm only one person, because one person acting and other people seeing them act, and millions of people are one person and can act together. So there's all kinds of little things that we can do every single day. I'm going to bring in some backstage classrooms again. We'll mix up the order a little bit to keep things interesting. Miss Steinhoff's class.
What is the average age of chimpanzees in the wild?
They don't usually live longer than 40 in the wild, but in captivity, where their teeth don't get worn down by chewing on lots of grit with their food in the wild, they can live up to 72 in captivity.
All right. Thanks for that great question, Ms. Steinhoff's crew. Let's see. Let's go to Mrs. Parrish's 6-7, see if they have another question for us. There they are.
What gave you strength to remain hopeful in your work, even when the challenges seemed overwhelming?
Oh, that's a great question. Jane, what gave you strength to continue with your work, even if the challenges seemed overwhelming?
Because I'm a very obstinate person. And when I start doing something, I'm not going to give up. So the worse the challenge is, the more I'm out there ready to defeat that challenge. And I've never felt like giving up. Never.
All right. Being stubborn can be a pretty good trait. It can push you through to get things done. Very cool. 3-4s, North Bay.
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and why was David Gravier your favorite chimpanzee?
So my favorite chimpanzee was David Greybeard. My hands are not working in the right way.
She's wondering, Jane, what was it about David Greybeard that really pulled you in? What was it about him?
Well, he was just calm. He was the first one to lose his fear. He was very handsome. You can see he's a handsome guy. And well, I loved him. As simple as that. It's like you see on the other side of me, this side is the dog who taught me as a child that not only humans have personality, mind, and emotion. That's Rusty.
All right. Thank you for that great question. We're going to go to our 7-8s who have been waiting patiently. Let's get them. Oh, here comes someone.
Hi, I'm Nathan. And I was wondering if you ever have you ever had any violent interaction with a chimpanzee?
Yes, we had one chimpanzee called Frodo, and Frodo was a bully. He bullied other chimps. He bullied us, especially bullied me. And he would charge up to us, and they're very strong. They're like 10 times stronger than me. And they charge, and it's just this ball of muscle and hair, and their faces bunched in a furious skull, and their hair's sticking out, and they whack you like that. And we used to hang on to trees, but Frodo used to pull me off the tree and drag me. And he wasn't trying to hurt me because I'd be dead, but he was just trying to, prove he's dominant. And I kept saying to myself, rather, Frodo, I flippin' know you're dominant. Just please lay off. But it didn't do it.
All right. Thanks for that question. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're wild animals.
Yeah.
Unpredictable. All right. Thanks, 7-8s. This is a fun question. This is from Alice. And Alice would like to know, obviously you've had lots of great experiences with chimpanzees in the wild, but is there another experience, maybe in another ecosystem or with another species that has always stuck with you?
Oh, I never chose chimpanzees. That was Louis Leakey asking me if I'd study them. And I'm really glad because they are more like us than anything else. But I love all animals. I would have studied any animal. I've had wonderful experiences watching elephants, watching warthogs, and I love pangolins, the most heavily traded animal in the world. Will become extinct if we don't care for them a bit better. I just love being out in the wild with almost any animal. It's where I love to be and almost never am today.
Jane, I was the ship was in Cape Town. I went up to Greater Kruger for a few days, and I got to spend several days tracking and following a pack of wild dogs.
Yeah.
And it was just, oh my gosh, they are so smart and so social. We saw them hunting and catching prey, but then we also saw the moments when they were playing around and just, there's nothing better than being in the wild and being in nature.
Raising their cubs. I watched them for a year, wild dogs, but also even more fascinating are hyenas. That was one of the best times I ever had, was a year studying hyenas.
Yeah, and that was a funny thing too, is wherever the pack of wild dogs went, there was always one or two hyenas following in behind.
That's
they
right.
wanted to try and get in on those kills.
Well, actually, the hyenas make many kills themselves, and the lions steal from the hyenas.
Yes, it's a tough world out there.
The funny thing with hyenas, one reason they love following wild dogs, if the wild dog is lying there, they'll creep up behind. They love eating wild dog poo. They'll try and pinch it almost as it comes out. It's so funny.
All right. Well, Jane, we have so many questions here, and there's so many good ones today. This is from Caesar in Nicaragua. And Caesar is wondering, if you could go back in time, would you change anything? Anything in your approach to conservation or the work you've been doing?
Nope. I think everything's worked really well. Maybe I could have found a way to get the chimps used to me quicker, but I wore the same colored clothes every day and didn't try and get too close too quickly. And then realized that we can't conserve chimps or forests unless we work with the local people and lift them out of poverty, because they cut down the environment just to survive. They need money from charcoal or timber or more space to grow more food. And so when we help them find ways of making a living without destroying the environment, then when I arrived at Gombe, it was part of a huge forest belt across Africa. 20 years later, all the trees around Gombe had gone. It was just a little island of forest. And that's when we began working with the local people. And now you don't see bare hills anymore. The trees have come back.
Oh, that's great. And when was the last time you were able to visit, Jane?
Oh, I go twice a year, but just briefly.
Yeah.
My grandchildren are out there, so I get to see them too.
Well, that's a good thing too. Jane, this is a fun question. Zoe wants to know, if you could be a chimpanzee for a day, would you do that? Would you take that opportunity?
Oh yeah, I'd love to be able to know what it feels like to swing through the trees. And I'd love to know how it feels to eat some of these weird things they eat. They appear to enjoy them. There's a lot of things I would love.
Yeah, get some real insight to how they're feeling, what they're thinking. Jane, Miss McNichol's crew would like to know. Oops, I just lost the question. Where did it go? It's Miss Silva's crew would like to know. What do you remember about your science teachers in school when you were in school?
That they didn't teach me what I wanted to learn. We had a biology teacher. I wanted to learn more zoology, but the school didn't do it. And so I wasn't impressed with any science teacher throughout my whole school. I was very impressed with my English teacher, but the science teachers were useless.
All right.
I taught myself. I got this big book and I spent hours and hours. It wasn't written for children, but I spent hours. So I taught myself.
Yeah, that kind of curiosity is really important, because all the subjects you're interested in, you might not always get in the classroom. So being able to grab books, search online. We've got, there's lots of negative things about phones, smartphones, and things like that. But there's some positives too. We have knowledge at our fingertips in a way that we've never had. Sometimes it's not accurate, though. That's true. You have to be careful.
So this book that I loved was a big book called The Miracle of Life. It's now being reprinted, so anybody can find it online.
Okay, The Miracle of Life. Well, since I called out Miss McNichol's crew, I better pick one of their questions. So, Jane, your lifestyle, are you vegetarian or vegan?
I'm vegan.
All right. So for students who don't know, that's no animal products at all in your diet.
That's right. Well, I know that's not totally true, because I do eat honey. We're using careful beekeeping to preserve the environment. And it means people save the forest, because that's where the bees nest. So as long as you do it properly and you don't take all the nectar and you leave enough for the bees, it gives people a livelihood. Chimps love honey. Chimps poke sticks into nests.
Another fun question here. This is from grade 3/4s in Brights Grove. And they want to know, what have chimpanzees taught you about being human?
That we've been very, very arrogant. We've assumed we're so much better than all the other animals. And actually, many of them are much, much better than us. And, there's good humans and there's definitely some extremely bad humans. So through Roots and Shoots, we're trying to grow caring, compassionate adults for the future.
All right. Well, Jane, we're going to let you go shortly, but I think we should see a couple more student faces before we do. So let's see, how can I mix it up even more this time? Let's start with our 7/8 this time.
Oh, okay. We've got one more question. Come on,
Surprise.
Hi, I'm Emily. What gives you the most hope for the future of our planet?
What do I have most hope is in you young people. Absolutely. Because once you understand the problems and you're empowered to take action, you are changing the world. No question.
All right, Miss Steinhoff's crew coming your way.
Hi, I'm Olivia. Who is Dr. Leakey?
Dr. Leakey was a paleontologist. That's somebody who hunts for fossils, and he hunted for fossils of the earliest humans, the earliest hominids across Africa. And he always wanted somebody to study our closest relatives because he thought that would help him understand how the very earliest chimp-like humans maybe behaved.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Great question. North Bay. Come on in, North Bay.
Hi, my name is Rita. What did your mother think you working with with the chimpanzees?
I didn't get that.
Jane, what did your mom think about you working with the chimpanzees?
Well, when I first went, the authorities wouldn't let me be alone, so Mum came with me. She came for 4 months, and she was a huge help, support. She always supported everything I wanted to do, and that was a big advantage. It's the same with chimps. Supportive mothers raise better mothers, and they raise males who are likely to reach a higher position and therefore sire more babies.
All right, thanks, North Bay. That was a great question. Okay, Miss Parrish's crew.
I was wondering that bully chimpanzee. Did you ever end up befriending him, or not?
End up watching them?
Befriending him, like getting him to trust you.
The bully.
Oh, Frodo. So he's wondering, did you ever get Frodo to trust you like the way maybe David Greybeard did?
Oh, he trusted me. He just wasn't nice. I mean, he wasn't afraid of me at all. He totally trusted me. And he was quite determined that he would prove all the time that he was dominant.
I guess maybe in a small way you could think of it as a little bit of a compliment. He just thought you were one of the crew, one of the,
He did
one of the family.
He did it to everyone.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, 6-7s. Great questions. Okay, before we sign off, let's grab maybe 1 or 2 more from YouTube. Let's see. So can you tell us a little bit, Jane, about, just what it was like living in the field, especially in those early days?
Oh, it was magic. Mum and I shared a tent. And then when she left, I had it to myself. And it was out under the palm trees. And it was right near the start of where you went up into the forest. And you could hear leopards at night. And sometimes I used to climb up to be near the chimps where they nested, because they nest in a different place every night. And I would sleep out under the moon, under the stars. Those are the best days of my whole life. Out from morning, early dawn, before it was light, back just as it was getting dark. That my one meal a day was the evening In the morning, I just had maybe half a bit of bread or something. It was magic.
All right. Okay, well, Jane, just before we sign off for today, first of all, thank you so much for being with us. I know it would have been a little tough today because I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, but it was such a pleasure to have you here with the students. And, you know, as we kind of come to the end of the Darwin200 expedition, you know, I wonder, maybe this question is more for our Darwin leaders who are going to tune in, who are going to get a chance to see this. You know, they're just starting their early conservation careers. A lot of them are just starting little organizations. They're just starting to do things in their community and learn new skills. So I wonder if you have a message or any thoughts for those young leaders who are on the cusp of becoming kind of that next generation of conservationists.
Well, I would love to welcome them all into Roots and Shoots. Even they could start their own organization, but it could just, you know, be part of Roots and Shoots, because the more people we have with the same goals, working together, knowing that they have support all around the world, just makes the world a better place.
All right.
That's what I would love to welcome everyone, so we become a bigger and bigger and bigger family.
Okay, well, we can definitely pass that on to the Darwin leaders, and I think they would leap at the opportunity to be part of such a great community all over the world. And to our students today, can't thank you enough, everybody who tuned in from all over the world. Thank you for the incredible questions. It's great to see your faces. It's great to see all of the excitement in the chat. Everybody who's just saying, thank you so much, Jane. You're a true inspiration to us. Thank you for being with us and ending our school year. Keep up the amazing work. There are so many students who are very excited, and I hope that you're inspired to get out this summer, to get out into the nature, even if it's your backyard, community parks, everywhere. There's conservation areas, there's national parks. Get into nature this summer.
Absolutely, here.
All right, Jane, I'm going to bring in some faces here. Let's get loud in those classrooms. If you want to give Jane a huge thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to all of our watchers on YouTube and Facebook. Jane, thank you so much. Rest your voice. We can't wait to connect again. It was an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you today.
It was great spending time with everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Jane.
Bye.
All right, so that was an amazing way to start today's world's most exciting classroom event. We have a couple more things we're going to do before we sign off today. As you know, every week we have an experiment, and you have 2 weeks to try the experiment. Then we have our curiosity of the week, and you have 1 week to try to solve that curiosity. So 2 weeks ago, our experiment was making rainbow rain. So I want to play those results for you so you can see how the rainbow rain experiment went. So bear with me for just a moment. This video is going to pop up on your screen, and you can see how Stu did in our Darwin studio with the rainbow rain. Here we go.
Welcome back, everyone. How did you get on making your very own rainbow rain? And could you work out why the oil, the water, and the food colouring didn't really mix? Well, the answer is the different densities of the liquid. Oil is the least dense of these three liquids, so it's floated on the surface. Water is denser than oil, so it's sunk down to the bottom. And the food colouring is even more dense than the water, so it's mostly sunk down to the very bottom of this beaker. Although because the food colouring is water soluble, some of it has dissolved in with the water, so it's mixed up to turn this orangey colour. Could you work out why the oil and the water and the food colouring don't mix? Well, the answer is because water is a polar molecule, whereas oil is a non-polar molecule. Polar molecules, such as water, have a positive and a negative end, and the molecules attract each other, a bit like magnets. Whereas the non-polar molecules of oil have an even charge, and the molecules are not attracted to each other. Generally speaking, polar molecules only mix with polar substances, whereas non-polar molecules only mix with other non-polar substances. That's why you can mix two different types of oil, but not the oil and the water, or the oil and the food colouring. Or why you can mix the water and the food colouring, but neither with the oil. When we added in our mixture of oil and food colouring droplets, the droplets of food colouring gently drifted down to the bottom of the layer of oil because they're more dense. And then as they emerged into the water, they could dissolve in the water, creating our rainbow rain. And that's the cause of this beautiful, colourful effect. Well, how did you get on? I'd love to see photos of your rainbow rain.
All right, so let's come back from there. That was a really fun experiment from 2 weeks ago. We try really hard to make the experiments easy to do in the classroom or at home. So with supplies that you might have. So that was Stu's rainbow rain. And Stu sent me a brand new experiment for this week, crystallized bugs. I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet. So I'm excited to see what the crystallized bugs are and what we're going to be able to do with that experiment. So let's take a look at the crystallized bug experiment. And then if you try that experiment in your classroom or at home and send us some pictures, we might send you a $50 Amazon gift card. So let's take a look at the crystallized bugs experiment.
Welcome back, everyone. In this week's experiment, we're going to grow crystals around your favourite little toy or object. Your very own crystal creatures will sparkle like diamonds. This is a really fun experiment, and it also shows you how crystals form and develop. To complete this experiment, you need a few little plastic toys, such as this little red beetle. You can also use sticks and twigs. Interestingly, the stems of grapes work really well as well. You need some alum. There are many different types of alum. You must make sure you get potassium alum, not aluminium sulfate. This is widely available from chemists and pharmacists around the world, but you can also easily buy it online. You need some hot water and the care of a responsible adult to enable you to mix your alum and dissolve it into this hot water. Then a container to grow your crystals in, and some wood glue and a little brush. All right, let's get started. So first you need to take the object that you want to crystallize. I'm going to use this little red beetle. Get some wood glue and very carefully put a blob of wood glue onto your creature. And then with a brush, cover the creature evenly with that glue so the whole surface of it is nice and sticky. The reason for this is that the crystals won't generally form very well on even surfaces. So you need to take your little creature, get a bit of alum, and gently sprinkle it over the glue. You've got to then set it aside and let the glue properly solidify and harden, which will take about a night or so. So tomorrow, that creature is ready to crystallize. Luckily, I've got 3 I already prepared earlier. The covering of alum creates a focal point for the crystals to grow. So this is very important if you want your toys to be covered in diamond-like crystals. We'll put this one in here, and these other 2 in as well. And last but not least, this ladybird. You're now ready to create a super-saturated solution of alum. With the help of a responsible adult, get about 1 litre of hot water and pour in as much alum as you can get to dissolve. This will make a super-saturated solution. Mix in the alum and keep mixing it until it all dissolves. This is really important. All of the alum must dissolve, and keep pouring in alum until no more will dissolve. It'll eventually go milky, a bit like mine here. I think I'll put in a little bit more, but I think we're getting close to saturation point. Saturation point simply means that there's so much alum, no more will dissolve in the water. And that's exactly what you want. Often the solution will become milky or slightly opaque, like mine is here. I think that's all the alum I can dissolve. I can see some at the bottom. No more is dissolving, so I think this solution is super saturated. You're then ready to set up your crystals to grow. Ask your supervising adult to very carefully pour in the solution of alum to fully cover the creatures that you prepared. The supersaturated solution of alum needs to fully cover your little creatures. I've got them about 2 centimeters or so deep. As this supersaturated solution, that's a bit of a tongue twister, cools, the alum should then crystallize out, forming all around the little creatures that you've put in. It'll take about 2 to 3 days for that process to be complete. Put your setup on an area where the water can evaporate easily, such as a windowsill, and watch the crystals form around your little creatures. Check back every day and you should see the incremental growth of the crystals. They get larger and larger and larger. And after about day 3, the process should be complete. Well, join me next time to see the results of this experiment. Hopefully my creatures will be covered in beautiful diamond-like alum crystals. Good luck in replicating this experiment in your classroom, and I really hope you succeed in growing beautiful crystals around your very own creatures. Send in photos of your results to classroom@darwin200.com and join me next time to see how my creatures have got on.
All right. So thanks to Stu from the Darwin studio in Poole in the UK for that great experiment. You have 2 weeks to try that experiment, which is plenty of time because you need about 4 days, a day for the glue to dry, and then 2 or 3 days for your bug or whatever you decide to put in and have crystallized. So send in pictures to classroom@darwin200.com, and then we'll give away a few Amazon gift cards to classrooms. So send those in, classroom@darwin200.com. And then, your class will have a chance at that gift card. That alum, remember, it has to be potassium alum. And I just did a quick search on YouTube. It's relatively easy to find on YouTube. You might be able to find it in a craft store. So it's not too hard to find, and it's not very expensive either. So do give it a try at home or in the classroom if you can. The last thing we have to do is our curiosity of the week. So last week we had a curiosity. Let's find out what the answer was to last week's curiosity. Here we go.
Welcome back, everyone. Last week, I asked you to try and guess the identity of this strange fossil. Remember, it's not an animal. It's something much, much older. Could you guess the identity of this strange formation? Did you spot its unusual layered structure? Well, many of you sent in answers, and a few of you got it right. This is known as a desert stromatolite. Stromatolites are one of the oldest forms of life on Earth. They first emerged in the fossil record about 3.5 billion years ago, and some scientists argue that they might be even older than that. And they became really abundant about 1.5 billion years ago. They're formed by mats of cyanobacteria and other microbial life that cement together grains of sand, forming layers. This particular one has been heavily eroded. You can see here the layers within it. Over time, the stromatolite grows upwards, forming a stone-like structure, but with a living biofilm, particularly at the top. It's thought that they may take decades or perhaps even centuries to form. And amazingly, there's some examples of living stromatolites alive today. In a few parts of the world, in protected waters, where it's very sheltered, stromatolites still form to this day. I was very lucky to see stromatolites a few years ago in Western Australia, and seeing this incredible sight of these strange formations in the water is literally like glimpsing back through time.
All right, so there we go. That was last week's curiosity, stromolites. some of the oldest fossils that we can find, billions of years old, as well as some of them are still around with us here today. Shout out to Mr. Carson's crew in Lethbridge for sending in the right answer. We have a gift card for your class. And our very last thing to do today is a new curiosity. You will have 1 week to send in your best guess for this curiosity.
Back everyone. This week's curiosity is a very unusual mineral. Can you see these amazing metallic crystals forming this radial pattern? Can you identify what type of mineral this is? There's a bit of a clue. It's had many interesting uses over thousands and thousands of years. Send in your guess to classroom@darwin200.com for a chance to win an Amazon gift voucher.
All right, so there we go. You can always look back at the recording of today's event if you want to look at the curiosity again. Do a little bit of research online, see if you can come up with the answer, and send your best guesses to classroom@darwin200.com. We might just have an Amazon gift card or two to pass out to some classrooms next week. Well, that was a pretty amazing event. Spending that time with Jane, one of our Darwin200 ambassadors, was incredible. Next week, we have our next World's Most Exciting Classroom on Thursday, and we will be live in the Azores with the ship, and we'll see what they've been up to. Maybe we'll talk to our Explorers Club researcher. It should be a fun event. For now, we have to do a shout out to our sponsors, supporters, and partners, without whom we wouldn't be sailing around the world, hosting the World's Most Exciting Classroom event, bringing researchers on board, training young conservationists. So a big shout out to them, and a shout out to all the classrooms who joined us live today. And of course, to our good friend Jane Goodall for being with us. I hope everybody has a great week, and we hope to see you from the Azores next week. Thanks, everyone.